Hello, this is Apostle Dwayne. Um, Today is November 9th, 2016. Last night, uh, Donald Trump, the most unlikely of candidates, became the new president-elect to replace President Barack Obama. Um, which is notable in that he is the most unlikely of candidates to have made it to this position. And he's unlikely in that his amount of his lack of personal character and self-discipline was completely overlooked, and his lack of respect for anyone other than himself was completely overlooked. He's just a despicable person, and the for him to become the new president-elect to replace President Obama on the heels of recordings of him talking about vulgar acts and things that he does, and just his completely salacious personal life, multiple corporate bankruptcies, and all the things that would normally stymie any candidate never even stop this guy. Okay. Now, the reason I'm making this point is because it is almost miraculous that he became the president. There were so many things that would have killed the campaign of any other person trying to seek that office that just did not seem to even stop him. He just rolled right over it. Okay. Now, the reason I'm mentioning all this is I'm laying the background for what I'm about to say. This message that I'm recording for you is the follow-up to the one that I released at the end of April earlier this year, and that was the dream God had given me, and He said that the dream was May 1st, and so I released a video prior to May 1st to make sure that no one would say that. Well, for a number of reasons. One, because I felt the conviction of God on me that I had to do it, and then also it needed to be done before the May 1st date. Now, if you remember, back in May 1st, we were embroiled in the primary season, and there were numerous candidates from both parties vying for the position as the nominee. And in the dream that I had, I was sitting outside of an apartment complex in a car, waiting to get into the place for some reason. I'm not sure why I was sitting there. Still don't know what that part of the dream is about, but I was waiting, and I think that's part of it was illustrating the waiting. In any case, I realized that the place was open, and then I went around the corner to I tried to go on the wrong side, and so I ended up finding the front of the building, and as I was going in, I could see an African-American woman sitting in her desk. It looked like she was the manager. She jumps up from her desk, goes to lock the door outside of her office, and then she's rushing over to lock the door in front of me, or the front door, which is the one I was going into. And as I see her lock the other door, I realize, oh, she's rushing to lock the door. So I run up real quick, and I grab the door handle, and I step in. And as I'm stepping in, it's like I caught her by surprise. She was hoping to get the door locked on me. But in any case, she gave me a blank stare and goes, "It's happening again." And so I thought to myself, what's happening? And then she turns to her right, which is my left, and she looks at a TV screen. On the TV screen, a football game is playing. And it looks like a professional football game in a stadium, lots of people to see it. And there were two players. One was on top of the other one. It looked like, the player had tackled the other player. And typically what happens in football, someone tackles someone, the other person gets up real fast, or they get up and they move the chains and all that stuff. As soon as you tackle someone, the play's over. All right. Well, in this particular scene, that's not what was happening. The player that was on top, I noticed he wasn't getting off the player. He was lingering. And then I noticed that he had one arm, doing this number on the player that was on the bottom. Now, I'm looking at these players from the back, from their backside. All I can see is their legs and the back of the player and their helmet, and I can see the arm, right? Well, what I noticed then, so here's the guy on top. He's hitting the guy on the bottom. And it's a night game too, by the way. And then as I look closer, I noticed that the exposed legs and the arm of the player on top was that of someone who's Caucasian or white. On the bottom, the person on the bottom was someone who's African American or black. The legs of the person who was on the bottom. Then I saw the ref come in, the referee, and he separates the two players. He takes the player who was on top. He gets up, and I think he may have thrown a flag. I don't remember, but when the white player who was on top got off of the player who was underneath, the player who was underneath, the African American, he had his arms like this underneath the guy. So the guy who was sitting on top had his arms pinned by his body, and then he was hitting the guy underneath. So not only was the guy positionally, he was underneath. 2, he was defenseless. And 3, the person who was on top was raining down blows. Okay? When the referee separates him, the guy who was on top raises his hand, or the referee raises the man's hand like it was a boxing match or MMA fight. There was no penalty given to the man. And it struck me as odd because that's not the way it's supposed to work in football. And so the man's arm was raised, and then the crowd goes wild. They're, with their applause, and then when the player pulls his helmet off and basks in the glory of what he's done, it's a white guy. Very pale skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes, and everyone's, just smiling at him. Now, the person that I saw was not Donald Trump, but I'm going to tell you how he relates to Donald Trump in just a second. Okay, then the scene changed, and I see a marching band marching through the streets at night. And it's the marching band from the team that was, that the person who had, beat up the other player was it was his team, and it was known to me that the team was the Huskies. Okay, now I've had some comments before on the Huskies being from Washington State. So technically, I know the Huskies are from Washington State. It could be Washington State, Washington D.C. because in dreams, when God gives you dreams, a lot of stuff is figurative. Then the scene changed again, and I saw it was just a blank white screen, and I see May 1st appear in front of me. And then I hear President Obama. Okay, so now the reason I'm telling you all of this, retelling this is because I want to do an analysis now in light of what just happened. Last night, well, first of all, when the dream was given, we didn't know who the candidate was going to be from either party. There was lots of different people, lots of different looks. But as it turns out, here we had 2 blonde-haired, blue-eyed people running against each other. Okay, and so when it came time to vote, I didn't feel the peace of God to vote for either candidate. I really felt the conviction of God that I was not to vote for anyone, and so I didn't. And then he also confirmed that dream to a few other people that I know, or not the dream, but he confirmed that same thing to a few other people I know, that they were not to vote for any candidates. And so here it comes up to the day of the election, and I was vacillating on whether or not to vote because I knew the dream that I had. Now, let me tell you what the first part of that dream. The scared African American woman who was the manager, who, she was afraid. Okay. Then when I saw what was happening on the screen, I understood why. The player who was on top fighting the player who was on bottom symbolizes a race war. Okay, now it could just be two people, or it could be a race war. I'm not sure. Okay, but what I do know is that, and this has not been proven yet, and so there's sometimes these things, they just continue to unfold. We don't know what the end is from the beginning, but God knows, and that's why He gave me this dream and told me to speak on it. And so, in any case, but we do know that the player on top was a white guy with blonde hair, blue eyes. The player on the bottom was black. Well, guess what? President Obama is is black, African American. Donald Trump is white. Okay, so you had these two things, right? Then you had the fact that the referee came over, and when the man was attacking the other man, instead of the referee penalizing him, what he says is, or he raises his hand like he won the fight, and that doesn't even fit in football. Okay, so what we're going to see is legalization of breaking the rules. It's going to become more and more rampant. And what we're watching is an increased rise in Nazism and other things. Now, God has given me a few more dreams, and I'm going to start today. I'm going to record all of the dreams that He's given me separately. I'm going to record all of the prophetic dreams about the end time, the things that He's been showing me here. I'm going to record them all today. But just so you know, and so going back to further analyze that first dream, now we know who one of the characters are, and we know that I heard President Obama, and we know that we saw May 1st. Now, just one other thing. Yesterday morning, or the day before, I believe it was yesterday morning, as I was laying in bed and just thinking about things and meditating, about that first dream, that one I was just telling you about, the Lord revealed something to me. That what I saw, that scene I saw, was spiritual. Okay? See, everything happens that we experience in this life is based on what's going on in the spiritual realm. If you don't believe that, then this dream should be a wake-up call, because there is no way that I should know what would happen before it happened. Okay? And God is, and the scripture says that in the last days, your young men will see visions, and your old men will dream dreams. Okay? And I guess the Lord's calling me, I don't know if I'm in the middle between young and old, but the bottom line is I get visions and dreams, and He's pouring these out. And it's not just me, it's a lot of people. Okay? And so this stuff is coming. Donald Trump becoming elected, and in my opinion, I don't think he was elected. I think he was picked by the elite to move their program and their agenda ahead. Now this is, and we'll see how this other stuff plays out. But one of the things that the Lord confirmed in my spirit was that something happened on May 1st this past year, and it was in the spiritual realm that changed things. It was in the spiritual realm that this man became selected, and all the demonic forces to start to get involved to help him get to where he's going to go. He is not a good person. He is a man of evil, and you will see. And all of his followers, especially those who call themselves Christians, you will be held for account. You'll be held to an account before God. And just another thing, racism, the Lord's shown me in a number of dreams that racism is going to be on the rise. It's going to happen. It's coming. Anybody who thinks that they can pick one race over another or something like that, there's something wrong in your heart, because there's one God and He made everybody. And typically those people, from what the Lord showed me yesterday morning when I was laying in bed, He was showing me that these people are demon possessed, meaning you need deliverance. And you cannot see the truth. You cannot even understand the truth. These demons drive you around like a car. And so as more of this stuff begins to unfold, I'll come back and I'll make another video, tape another message to add to the last dream, or to add to this one. And we're going to keep it going until we know the full revelation of this dream. But I will tell you this, we are coming into a time of heavy persecution. The church in America has, for the most part, been allowed to grow unadulterated by Satan, and it's probably because so many people have just given themselves over to doing satanic things for so long that and whatever their plan is. But I can tell you this: persecution is coming. The Antichrist, which this man may be. I mean, if he's not the one, he's the precursor. Don't know. But I know something's going on in the spiritual, the physical, based on the spiritual. And it could be that, Trump gets assassinated and becomes Mike Pence. I don't know. But I can tell you this: there are a lot of people who think that that they can serve two masters. You have a large number of people in this country that are Freemasons and involved in all other kind of secret groups, fraternities, sororities, and all these different things. And on one face they say they're Christian, on the other face they do things and they worship Satan. But God is not going to allow them to do that any longer. He's going to start pulling the covers off. And we will know the difference. There'll be a clear delineation. There'll be a clear line between the sheep and the goats. There's going to be a clear line between those who are the flock and those who have been fleecing the flock, and those who have been wolves in sheep's clothing. God is going to pull the covers off of everybody. And just so you know, God is greater. He's greater. Man can only do so much. We are so limited. We think we have bombs and planes and all this other stuff. You can't do nothing. One angel of God slew over 100,000 men in one night. Just one angel. So this is the message. We'll see how the Lord continues to reveal these things, but there's more coming. And I'm going to make some more videos, post some more messages on some more of the dreams that He's given me, so I can speak specifically on those things as well.